Hello, girls. We'll be starting with the next chapters of So Many Hungers by Bhavani Bhattacharya. To give you a brief introduction of the novel, once again, this novel, So Many Hungers, was published a few months after independence. It is set in the context of 1942-43 Bengal famine and Quit India movement. This complicated and didactic novel takes its characters through a rigorously Gandhian education. At one level, it is a story of Kajali, a village girl, who righteously rejects the prostitution forced on her by the destitution of her family to sell newspaper, and she assumes the persona of the Gandhian woman. At another level, this novel deals with the spiritual and political growing up of Rahul, a Cambridge-educated astrophysicist who simultaneously discovers the limits of intellectualism and Western civilization and renounces both in favor of nationalism and village-based economy. Much of this instruction comes by the way of his grandfather Devata, a saintly Gandhian figure, who is responsible for bringing Satyagraha to the village of Broni, where he lives like one of the peasants. He is treated by the villagers as their father, as their grandfather. This fatherly figure is much of influence on the villagers. In the 11th chapter, now, in the foreground of the novel that we have done so far, what we have seen is how the World War has affected the village. In chapter 11, we see a dismal picture of growing hunger and poverty in the villages of Bengal. This is an after effect of the World War II. Because of the war, there is a scarcity of food. The food is being siphoned off to the army, which is at the forefront. The World War is going on, and the food is required for the soldiers. They are given the first priority. Government is hardly concerned about the poor peasants. People of the villages are their least concern. And the corrupt and the greedy traders of the city, they are trying to sink their claws deep into these defenseless poor villagers who are not being helped by the government at all. And at this point, because of the Quit India movement and the civil disobedience, most of the leaders and elders, they are in prison. Women and young children are suffering without the guidance of these leaders and elders. The fields are suffering because there are no elderly people. The men are not there to look after the needs of their family. Villagers, therefore, are forced to sell or barter their essential possessions. Utensils, plows, axes, shovels, they are being traded for food. Even the cattle is being sold for money because the army needs to eat beef. So dealers are waiting patiently that the poor, sooner or later, they will be giving in to the hunger, the extreme hunger that they are suffering from, and they will sell these commodities, they will sell their land, their cattle. And we see also villagers are heading towards Calcutta with the hope that the city people will help them. Their innocent belief is that the city will not let the food growers famish. In this chapter, we come in a close contact with the Kajal, with what is happening with Kajali and her family. We see Kajali is 5 months pregnant, and she is also starving like the rest of her family and rest of the villagers. There is hardly any food stock at home. She tries to put in her share of work by trying to work on the plants. The little kitchen garden she takes pride in. Her efforts to grow plants so that she can nourish her family, they are nullified when one day her eggplant is attacked by an army of ants. In no time, her plant is destroyed. She's reduced to tears. But then the calamity comes when, in the next few days, what we see that the healthy looking shoots of beans which are grown and she's waiting that soon beans will be they will be ripe to be eaten. They are eaten by Mangala, the cow, because she is also starving. The mother slaps Mangala in anger because this anger is more of an anger of desperation, of frustration. The whole family is in tatters like the rest of the poor people. The clothes are falling into pieces, and they are just about managed to cover their bodies. Onu is a weak boy. His backbone is protruding. His bones are in fact protruding, and they give an image of malnourished boy. Onu is also trying to fend for his family. He's taking a lot of risk. He's climbing up to the top of the delicate branches of the tree to pluck the figs for the family. We see in these chapters poverty dehumanizing people, but we also see a deep-seated idealism in the entire family. Onu, although hunger has debased his warm and innocent spirit, but he is quick to share his figs with his friend when he learns about his little starved brother. Chapter 12 also brings pathos born out of the intensified state of poverty and hunger. It has driven the villagers to a state of desperation. Many of them have succumbed to the pressure and given up their values so as to save themselves and their family from this unbearable hunger. The pathetic picture of all these villagers exodusing from their villages. These poor people are going away to the city in search of better circumstances. This entire exodus is given in its all gory details. We also are acquainted with Mangala, the cow, which is more of a part of a family. Like more of a mother, her milk has been fed to the children of the family. In that respect, Mangala, as the tradition is considered to be like a mother. In these hard times, even Mangala is forced to starve because there are few pastures left in village. Kajali and her family, they have let Mangala out of their love on the rice straw that had hatched their roofs. As a result, most of their house is roofless. Just one room has been left, which is now roofed, which provides roof over their heads. Mangala is kept by the family, although they themselves are starving. And under the circumstances, most of the villagers, they are giving away their cattle and taking money. They're selling their cattle for money. But this family is defying the dealers who are waiting to buy any cattle at a good price, because this cattle is to be supplied to the army as their food. But eventually Mangala is given away. Looking at her children, 6 months pregnant Kajali, weak and frail Anu, mother has thought about selling Mangala frequently so that some food could be bought. She knows her children needed that food. But she also knows that if she'll sell Mangala, her children will not touch even that food. But eventually, she sells the cowbell. It seems as if Mangala herself is offering the mother that she should sell that cowbell. She sells it and she gets 5 palms of rice. But when she is waiting for Mangala to feed herself on a patch of grass which she finds on the way back, she comes across a poor fisherman's wife. She is burying her living but hunger-crazed child. The mother is almost horrified over the spectacle of this poor fisherman's wife, whom she recognizes to be the wife of her own son Kanu's friend. Mother ends up giving the rice as well as the cow to the women. Because the rice is of no use to the women, child cannot be fed on the rice. The cow is given to the woman so that she could sell the cow, and out of that money she could feed the child as well as go to the city, where probably she will find her husband. Most of the men of the village, they have gone to the city in search of food, and most of them have not returned. We see another very horrifying spectacle, that of flesh traders. That is another category of traders who are waiting for the poor to be exploited. They are waiting that the girls of the poor eventually will be sold to them. These girls will be bought by these flesh traders and they will be taken to the brothels in Calcutta. Food, cloth, and money are used to lure these famished people. Many people, poor people, have yielded to their needs. They have sold their daughters to these flesh traders. Even Kajoli's mother has got an offer from one of these flesh traders, but she protects her daughter like a tigress when she is approached by one such trader. While summing up these two chapters, we can say that a pathetic picture of man-made famine is presented in these two chapters. The hunger, the exploitation by the traders is highlighted, the debasing of values, and therefore of the humanity in the face of extreme starvation and helplessness is depicted. We see also a fight of circumstances with human endurance, which is shown in people like Kajoli and her family, who are nurtured on Devda's ideology. Therefore, they are ready to fight the circumstances. Eventually, we see in these couple of chapters a saddening picture of the innocence of the villagers who believe that the city people are their rich brethren, who will be gladly extending their hand to them in this hour of desperation. And therefore they are all moving to Calcutta in large numbers. They feel that because these farmers have been growing food for their rich brethren of the city. Thank you so much.